Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be huge. We all know this. It's not a question. But there are plenty of questions about what Grand Theft Auto 6 is actually going to look like, and we actually have a lot of the answers. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 ways GTA 6 will make huge changes. Starting off with number 10, making buildings enterable is a priority for Rockstar. Fully explorable buildings, the holy grail of open world crime games. It's something Rockstar has always wanted to do. We know because they said as much in a leaked memo from 2012, 2 years before GTA 6 even went into production. In that context, they were thinking about the possibility of making a small town GTA to make the idea viable, but that's not the direction Grand Theft Auto 6 is going in. The only thing Rockstar has officially shown is one trailer and a few screenshots, but from even that, it's hard to believe they'd be able to make 100% of the buildings in Vice City and the surrounding state of Leonida. Yeah, I'm trying to say the word like Florida as much as I can, but it's difficult to believe everything would be enterable. There's a lot of ground to cover here. Still, I think there's a lot of reasons to believe Rockstar will have a lot of buildings you can actually go into in this game. One less than credible source is the son of a Rockstar employee who leaked alleged map details of the game on TikTok. They responded in comments saying the game would have 70% of the buildings with actual interiors that you can walk around in. If you're a GTA fan at all, 70% has been memed to death by people who want to believe, along with people who have healthy skepticism, but there could be a kernel of truth to it. I mean, it could be half of him, and he could be bad at math. We don't know. It would be absurd to have every building fully explorable. Like Vice City, which is based off Miami, Florida, is a major American city full of office buildings and apartment blocks. There could potentially be hundreds of apartments per building, depending on the size. That's a gargantuan amount of work, even for a studio as big as Rockstar. But some uncovered patent filings explain how some of this might actually be possible. And number 9, there will potentially be randomly generated interiors in a recently revealed AI patent, which, okay, let's stop there. It's not an AI, it's a database. Really throwing around the words artificial intelligence on basically anything. Like even that new chat GPT model you can talk to, that's not intelligent. That's machine learning emulating what it can glean from a bunch of information. But this isn't even close to that. It's a freaking database. Okay, got that out of my system, all right? The patent from Take-Two shows that Rockstar may be incorporating randomly generated interiors. I don't know why that warrants a patent because it's basically a tag system, but at least it does give us a glimpse of the technology that they are going to maybe use to have a shitload of interiors. How it works is that the random objects that appear in buildings are given a tag like old, modern, or industrial. Those objects are tied to specific types of locations, and they're probably tied to specific layouts as well. It's a little more complex than just randomly making one of 3 different chairs appear, though. A lot of these features change over time without retaining permanence in the world. They won't just disappear and reset if you enter and exit a house. Like, they may still be in the house, but be in a different place. I don't know. But with a system like this in place, Rockstar could fill out tons of prefab apartments and houses without having to have a designer painstakingly build thousands of mostly samey interiors. There's no way to know if GTA 6 will actually even incorporate anything from this patent, but it would make sense, especially with how this game is expected to greatly expand on robberies as a gameplay mechanic, which we're going to talk about at number 8. Robberies are going to be a major focus, most likely. I am relying on leaks for this entry, so take it with a grain of salt. I mean, take a lot of this list with a grain of salt. We don't know exactly how credible any of these leaks are, and if they're right, stuff is subject to change. Like, it wouldn't be the first time something leaked and a game developer changed everything because of the leak. With all that said, obviously robberies, at least according to what we know, are going to be a big thing in this game. The defining moment of the trailer is a gas station robbery, and the inspiration of the main duo is Bonnie and Clyde, the famous robbers. Also, it's not like they have to build them from scratch. Red Dead Redemption 2 had extensive robbery mechanics, and the idea that they could start from there and build on it, it would be very easy for GTA 6 to expand on. If the game's going to offer a lot of opportunities for gas station robberies and breaking and entering, it's going to need a lot of interiors, which would explain the patent. Imagine something like these special side robbery events in Red Dead 2, only the interiors and the events that happen are randomly generated. They could use the random encounter system from Red Dead and expand it out to a full robbery side game where you rob pretty much everything. I'm pretty skeptical the final game is going to include absolutely everything that we're talking about here, but there is a good chance there'll be a lot of repeatable buildings that are enterable and that you can potentially rob. At number 7, the most realistic and reactive NPCs that have ever been in a GTA game are apparently here. Rockstar Games may have the best NPCs around. There's just no competition out there. Like, compared to how much variation in life there are in their NPCs, it's just, nobody else does it. But in the same patent where they talked about the randomized interiors, they also talked about their new and improved NPC AI models. Again, AI is a stretch, and it really always has been, but we also have always called it AI. But this is all part of a much more granular and complex model for animations, where multiple different context actions can be strung together to create unique and believable interactions that don't require full mocapping, like similar to systems to what CD Projekt Red used for Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. But with a lot more potential to be more naturalistic. If you've seen the trailers, you've seen some stuff from the background NPCs. The part that's really interesting to me is how the NPC AI is going to work, where NPCs will generate responses based on a number of factors. Like if it's raining, they'll perform certain actions and respond in certain ways. It's similar to the other systems mentioned, where they use a complex tagging system and sort various moods and behaviors in order for NPCs to respond to outside stimulus in more realistic and emergent ways. For example, if an NPC starts flipping out or doing something crazy, another NPC might record them with their phone. And it's not a scripted event or anything. It's the NPC procedurally responding to events around them. It sounds really complex, and video game AI has always been one of the toughest nuts to crack for developers, but if anybody can do it, it's obviously Rockstar. And number 6, driving and traffic is getting a makeover. In yet another patent filing from Take-Two in 2020, we see a system and method for virtual navigation in a gaming environment. It's a mouthful, but the basic idea is to make traffic more immersive and interesting. The basics of the patent don't sound that interesting, but if you look deeper, there's some interesting possibilities. The thing they're talking about is a system where instead of the usual way traffic works in games, where cars just follow preset roads and make on-the-fly decisions when coming into obstructions, the new system has NPCs follow a system of nodes for navigation, where obstructions, changes in road conditions, the flow of traffic, things that an actual driver would be aware of, they're all recognized. In this way, traffic isn't just a bunch of vehicles following a track and then reacting when things happen to them. They're more actively engaged with a sense of awareness of the world around them. Combine that previously mentioned stuff about AI systems that have an NPC's mood and behavior affect what they do, and you have a recipe for the driving portion of GTA 6 to be a lot more reactive and interesting. Take all this into account, and driving will just be more engaging, but police chases could be way more complex. Maybe in GTA 6, you won't just be bombarded with suicidal cops who want to ram you above all else. And obviously, I'm speculating now. Everything in the patent probably isn't going to be used in the game, but it's a distinct possibility. And if it is used, that's something to get excited about. Moving on to number 5, the map may be twice as big as GTA 5. Yeah, fill out another space on your GTA 6 bingo card. This one's pure unadulterated speculation from a rabid fan community, desperate for new information to salivate over, but I wouldn't put it past Rockstar. Just from a technical aspect, Red Dead Redemption's 2 map was quite a bit bigger than GTA 5, and that's a game where you're riding a horse, so it takes a lot longer to get around. I think with the expectation of whatever GTA 6's version of online will be, people are going to want more map, and I expect Rockstar to deliver on that. Will it be twice as big? I can't tell you. Who knows? If you're interested, this entire speculation came from the map coordinates on leaked versions of the game. They saw a negative coordinate, and they assumed that there must also be a positive coordinate of the same number, and just extrapolated from there. Keep in mind, this is from the leaked in-development version of the game, so there's no guarantee that the coordinates are, accurate, or even that they match up to anything. They could very well be not units comparable to real-life units at all. But it's also not impossible. The speculators could easily be right, even if the map they've been making for years is probably only broadly accurate to what we'll see in the final game. So, will it be twice as big? Maybe, I don't know. But if I had to make a statement one way or the other, I'd say it's probably going to be bigger. How much bigger? Obviously, Vice City is a major city on the map, and there's going to be extensive wilderness. But will there be other major cities, like in San Andreas? The GTA mapping community seems to think so, for what it's worth. Not to undersell what those guys are doing, but we don't know. And number 4, expect more robust role-playing features. GTA Online is huge, but one of its most popular aspects, role-playing, is totally unofficial. At least, that's the case with the current version of GTA Online. It's possible that Online 2 or GTA 6 Online, or whatever Rockstar is going to call it, will feature built-in role-playing tools that don't require mods to function. If you're not aware, there is an entire sub-community of people who play GTA Online, and rather than engage in multiplayer heists and repeat heists over and over, they role-play as mundane jobs or act like they're in a gang or just hang around and chat while pretending to be someone else. It's your traditional MMO-style role-players, but with more immersive tools that allow players to do a lot more than the standard game. Rockstar started off trying to fight players who were doing this sort of thing, but now they may be embracing them. Back in 2023, Rockstar acquired CFX.RE, the guys who make the popular 5M and Red M role-playing mods for GTA 5 and Red Dead 2. The acquisition strongly implies an interest by Rockstar to incorporate these features into the online version of the game. I doubt they want everything those mods did, like increasing player counts or allowing for custom maps, but the stuff that lets people play as different jobs or get immersed in the world of GTA 6, I could definitely see that as a possibility. A lot of GTA Online's most popular viral moments come from role players, and many of the game's most popular streamers roleplay exclusively, so it only makes sense that Rockstar would try to incorporate this stuff into their next game, just on their own terms. Moving on to number 3, the possibilities of a dual protagonist. Even though it's seen as a given at this point, we don't have official confirmation that GTA 6 will have 2 playable characters. The first trailer mostly focused on Lucia, with only brief glimpses of the second potentially playable character, Jason. That's how little we actually know about the game. We don't even know how many protagonists there are, at least not officially. But at this point, it's pretty common knowledge that the 2 playable characters are Jason and Lucia. With only 2 playable characters down from the 3 in GTA 5, there is a lot of potential here to really flesh out both characters' stories and make them more distinct. The character swapping mechanic in GTA 5 is revolutionary and done in a way that I think is probably better than anybody else has attempted to do it, with maybe the exception of Watch Dogs Legion, but the implementation of that I think is very limiting. I mean, there's some stuff it does that GTA 5 doesn't do, but it doesn't feel very deep, and like it's impossible to have deep stories in the Watch Dogs Legion type multiple. I'm getting off track. I'm talking about how Watch Dogs Legion could have done more with a multiple protagonist system. GTA 5 could have done more. I mean, maybe they were pushing things to the limit. I don't really know, but I have a feeling they could have, from a narrative perspective, done more. Like, swapping characters mid-mission was always scripted. It was only possible during key moments. It was kind of just underutilized, and it only came into play fairly rarely. GTA 6 could completely change that. The leaks tell us that there may be a similar system to San Andreas where both protagonists can gain weight or build muscle mass. There's also the possibility you can give orders to your partner and swap between them instantly during a mission. Lots of possibilities. Like, imagine playing as Jason to create a distraction that allows Lucia to sneak around unnoticed. There's a lot of possibilities for tactical depth with this arrangement. Another thing that makes these characters different is that they're in a relationship, which means they're going to be spending a lot more time together, which could have a major effect on how character swapping actually works. There would be a lot less swapping to a character who's halfway across the map, and more switching seats in the car. I don't want to be the driver anymore. I want to play on my phone in the passenger seat. Thank you very much. I don't know how this is going to work. I think it's a safe bet that they're going to try and top the character swapping in GTA 5, but how? I just don't know. And number 2 is potential new gameplay mechanics. The fan-made document compiling everything known about GTA 6 from leaks is thorough, but it's a questionable source that is at least using what may be outdated information. Games can change drastically during development, so anything listed in the document may not necessarily appear in the final game, but it does offer a glimpse into the possible stuff we'll see in the game. Some features that caught my eye are the new game mechanics that could make for an overall more interesting experience. GTA 5 may be a revolutionary game in a lot of ways, but combat and stealth mechanics have never really been Rockstar's strengths. They may be trying to turn that around here. The leaks imply some new movement skills, like the ability to go prone, switch shoulders while aiming, and the ability to shoot from a car window. The last one could be related to character switching mechanics. You might be able to switch instantly from driving to the passenger seat, where you can lean out of a car window and shoot at enemies, or play on your phone. You drive, I'll play on my phone. I'm joking. We're talking about shooting things. The stealth seems to be more important too, though. It looks like you might finally be able to carry bodies in a GTA game, and some other Red Dead features are here too, like the ability to rob anyone and threaten people. It would certainly make sense with the stick-up we see at the end of the trailer, and I expect a lot of tense standoffs with robbery victims, and the new AI system I mentioned earlier should make these NPCs a lot more reactive and interesting to deal with. Going back to some of the movements though, going prone stands out to me as a pretty big deal. It sounds like such a simple addition, but it changes so much about how you interact with the environment and makes sneaking a much more viable option. It sounds like player control is going to be a priority in the game, which may be a stark difference to how other Rockstar game protagonists feel, which is often kind of slow and heavy. This all comes from a fan-created document, so it all could be BS. Keep that in mind. I hope it's not, though. I would love it if we had a couple of agile protagonists that can sneak around. And finally, at number 1, seamless lobby switching. This could be revolutionary if applied correctly. Anyone who's played GTA Online knows that the game suffers from server issues, among other things. Loading screens in particular have been an endless source of frustration for players, but it looks like Rockstar's trying to make things better in GTA 6. In yet another Take-Two patent filing, Rockstar seems to be creating a system and method for session management in a multiplayer gaming network. There's a lot to unpack with that, but the central idea is to streamline the process of going online and switching between servers to completely eliminate load times. I don't like load times, so I like that. I like the sound of that. In theory, it could allow Rockstar to do things like split up the map into various server zones, allow for larger player counts in a single instance of the map, where driving to certain parts of the map, the player could seamlessly switch to a new server without having to stop and load. At its most basic, this would hopefully make it so players don't have to sit through loading screens to enter certain interiors or switch between offline and online game modes. If things work as intended, then everything will just happen behind the scenes without the player noticing. As with anything that comes with playing games online, there's a whole lot of stuff that can go wrong here. A lot of games have attempted the same thing, like Star Citizen and its server meshing, which, to put it mildly, has problems. They are, to be frank, probably the least of Star Citizen's problems as a whole, but Rockstar isn't without sin here either. Remember how GTA Online went for years with the ridiculously long load times? It was never fixed, and it took a fan to finally pinpoint the problem. These are the guys we're meant to trust here. Like, it was such a simple fix, and they fixed it, and it was just completely, better. I'm not saying it's impossible Rockstar completely revolutionized online multiplayer, but GTA Online is still kind of a mess, even if the load times are a lot better. With all that said, the patent itself is still very interesting, and even if all it does is make loading faster, that's a big step up from what people have had to deal with for years with GTA Online. If it does more, who knows? It may actually be a revolutionary piece of technology. I don't know. I'm a YouTube bird. That's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.